All right. Beginner boost day 11 coming up. So have a seat. Have a seat. I'm gonna give it like a few seconds here. How about minutes? Gather around the campfire. I used to have a campfire. I got rid of it. I'm kind of glad I did. I mean, this sexy Groovebox terminal just is good. It's doing it for me. Fits pretty well. I'll have to go look at it. The Unix Magic. There's actually several really good video sites out there. If you want to send me your favorite VI site, let's do that. There's lots of good sites, and we're going to review them really quick, and then we're going to actually do a little bit. The entire day today is dedicated to VI and Vim. Yeah. So we're going to go through all that. It doesn't quite register new people in the house yet. Let me just catch up here. 14 viewers. Let's wait, get it up around 20, and we'll get going. If you while you're waiting though, what you can do is if you get your container on, make sure you install. You can start to install VI, and we already did how to install stuff with apt and all that. You could go look at some of the other VI sites that are out there. And you can look at some of the stuff with that I've got on the site here. So I haven't migrated a lot of this stuff to the Zettelkasten yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and open it. A lot of this is going to move to my Zettelkasten, and I'll be dropping it from RTMXGG probably. I noticed there's a bunch of I did a search for something the other day, and I was the second hit, and it wasn't just because it was using links. And I can't remember what it was. It was like something related to this. But yeah, so there is a Tools VI Vim or something. Yeah, can't find it anyway. All right, I think it's time to get going. We got a lot to cover, and I do want to go through the Vim tutorial together with you guys. But let's start out and follow the plan. Wait, I need to get out of here. Boosts. I have to always switch contexts so I can do all this. Oops. All right. So we did group permissions yesterday. No, we did this. Okay, so there's a number of things we didn't cover yesterday that I added in here. Curl, JQ, and YQ. We didn't cover those at all. But if we need to come back around to them, we can. Make sure you keep looking at the outline. If there's something on that outline that you have a question about, make sure you ask about that, and then we'll keep going about that. All right. So I'm going to do the start, the kickoff here. I'm trying to decide which one to do here. I'm just going to make a video a really quick one. All right. So today we're going to be covering editing files with VI and then Vim, and I'm just going to give you a 5-minute overview of how we're going to go about doing this. First of all, there's no way you're going to learn VI in 90 minutes. You'll barely be able to survive with VI. And let's just get into it. So first of all, why VI? We're gonna do VI because that's what's on everything. I'll make a whole video about that, but I already have actually made a video about that, but I'll make another one. VI is the editor that's there on everything, and it's the most minimal editor next to Ed, and so that's why we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and take that on. We're going to talk about messing with your escape key. The escape key is the biggest hindrance to using VI. And after you get over 50, you start to notice these kind of things. I'm really grateful that I switched out and not use the escape key where it's at, and use something else. But it does, it can be painful, especially when you use control the bracket. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the Vim tutorial. I still believe it's the best way to start, even though it was written by a bunch of Colorado college kids who don't know how to use VI properly, and they left off the major pieces of it. It's been recommended to Bram to use it, to redo it, and he said no. Just beware that it's got some things in there that are bad for your bad habits. It also doesn't include a couple really good habits. I actually am dead set on making my own Vim trainer. I've been working on it forever. There's so many things I'm trying to make, but that's one. Appreciate the difference between VI and Vim. We're going to spend a significant amount of time talking about it, at least 10 or 15 minutes. And we're going to talk about learning how to start with the default 0 configurations of VI. Everybody loves to trick out their editor, and they're always asking me, how did you get that in these colors and blah, blah, blah. And it's super duper fun. It's really addicting to do it. It's actually more fun to do that than play a game to me. But still, you have to start minimally and then add on, so you know what you're adding. We're going to talk about that. Extending Vim with the palette with shell, not plugins at first. There's nothing wrong with adding plugins, and I use them all the time, but don't start with that. We're going to start by using Vim with shell integration, which I did a lot of yesterday. We're going to come back and explain those exact keystrokes and what that means. I call it VI magic, but it's not magic, it's VI. If you're not doing that, then you don't know VI. And then, yeah, particularly if you're going to extend, use plug to extend, which is hands down the easiest plugin manager to use, even though the VI and Vim Vim comes with an internal plugin manager. And NeoVim is, of course, famous for its really verbose multi-language plugin manager. If you want a layer of NeoVim on top of that, fine. I don't. Avoid pane splitting. This is another thing. People with Vim, they really love that you can split the panes up, and you have to learn how to manage those in Vim. No matter what, but you shouldn't learn to depend on those, mostly because Tmux, and we haven't gotten to Tmux yet. We're going to like to get to Tmux for quite a while, actually, but I just want to demonstrate why I don't think learning paint splitting right away is so important. And then finally, we're gonna add our first configuration to our shell. We're going to set -o VI for efficient shell history handling, so that when you deal with the history, instead of doing the arrows up and down to look through your history and spamming left and right to get to the right position, you can actually use the VI commands that you're going to spend a lot of time learning. And so that's it. That's the overview for today. I don't know how much we're going to get done today. If we have to push it out to another day, that's fine. But I'm going to end this introductory video. I'm going to get on with it. All right, drink a coffee, break, and cut, and scene. It's like Wayne's World, and scene. What do you guys have questions about? Nothing, right? Because we haven't talked about anything yet. Okay. I've done so many videos about this one. I'm just going to do another one, though. Every time, maybe one will be better than another one. I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Yep, that's right. They're the same. You know what? You reminded me of something. let's talk about that. I do need to do a little bit of history here. I think we can do this. I think we can. You're not going to learn it, but you're going to know where to go to start learning it. All right. So another video coming. That's a good. I'm glad you asked that question, Stitch, because now I'm going to answer the question. Here we go. So somebody in the chat immediately asked the question: is VI the same as Vim? And where did it come from? And I need to start the font's not doing it for me today. It's got kind of a problem. So the answer is it's the same on most systems. And that's a little confusing because they're not the same, right? VI and Vim are not the same. And I need to tell you the history about this and tell you why. But the immediate question was, what is VI? And in my case, if I type which VI, user bin VI, right? If I type VI, it says VI is alias to Vim. And if you type user bin VI, that's VI. Let's do an ls-l. These are all commands you should already know because we learned them. So as you can see on my system here, VI is Vim. Okay. Now that's on my system. That's on the system. If you don't have VI installed, you know how to install it, right? We already covered that. We already covered how to install it, right? So if you are running Ubuntu and you haven't installed it at all, you do. I'm just gonna do it really quick. apt update -y, which takes a while to go get everything, and then apt install Vim. And I'll say all the stuff, and you say yes, and you go get it. So that's Vim. This is supposed to be about the history. We're going to talk about the history, but that's where you get it. And now when you do VI, it does VI. And same thing here, which VI, ls-l, which VI. And you can see that it's pointing to the alternative, which is actually really Vim. So as of today, May 19th, 2021, Vim is the default editor when Ubuntu comes with it's the default editor that's installed. But it's not necessarily the default on other systems. In fact, most containers these days don't even have it. So if you run on like an Alpine container, which you can do, I'm going to do the long form of the commands. But you guys remember, I'm doing short form, right? I should probably not. So Docker, it takes so much time to run it. .it-rm Alpine. So let's run an Alpine container. Which VI? Is there a VI over here? Alpine is this, yeah, so there's a VI. That's good. I didn't know that. So ls-l, which VI? The backticks replace that with the thing there. We're going to get to those eventually. And that's part of this scripting section that we haven't got to yet. So this shows you that it is, okay, so VI in this case on Alpine is not even VI or Vim. It's pointing to BusyBox. BusyBox is a one binary that's got a bunch of things stuffed into it, like a toolbox. It's pretty cool. So as you can see, but if you do VI-version, it will tell you it's 1.32 multi-call binary. And so that's it. And by the way, that is not Vim at all. If you try to use it like Vim, you'll get in trouble. It doesn't work. Okay. And even though it's rare for you to actually be in a container and use the editor, we are doing that for the sake of the boost. But in general, containers are meant to, remember we talked about poking holes into your container, right? Well, one of the ways to poke a hole is to mount a directory, your home directory. And then if you make any changes, it'll just make changes to that directory. I'm missing a problem here. So then you can just go in there and change things using your host system and then use a container. But if you're using a workspace container, you would have it in there anyway. All right, so let's talk about VI's history. I had to show you about all the places you would find VI to understand the history. So VI started as the visual, where did VI Unix come from? It started out as the visual mode of the first editor ever made called Ed. And Ed is a line editor. You can actually install it right now. Just install Ed. It's a line editor. We talked about, transforming things and through redirection and things like that. Well, Ed lets you change one line at a time. I still haven't mastered it. I've been meaning to many times. I was hacking last year, and we did not have the ability to use VI because we didn't have a full teletype, a full TTY, PTY. So we learned Ed really fast in like an hour. So we could edit files on the system that we broke into for Hack the Box. And the point is that VI is visual mode. It was the first ever visual editor ever. So Ed was not the first one, and then VI was the first. In fact, I think it's safe to say that VI was the first visual digital editor in history. Full terminal kind of thing. Up to that point, it was all about transforming this line and turning it into this other thing, and it was very hard to do it. But it was better than punch cards or whatever they were doing before teletype, right? So visual VI literally stands for the visual mode of something. So you can actually get into trouble because you can be stuck editing something. So let's go back to our Ubuntu, our Alpine. Let's go back to an Alpine. And so you can actually be stuck editing a thing, and you can sometimes get into X mode and be in trouble. So in this case, wow, that's interesting. BusyBox doesn't implement X. Wow, that's super. I did not know that. So another way to check VI is to run NVI. NVI is an actual real thing. It's this is really VI. It's not BusyBox VI. So that way you have X mode. I'm trying to get into X mode. I don't know. Most of the time when you do an X command, you're doing colon to get the command down here. Anyway, so let's go back. So you need to know where all these things came from. Now I'm stuck. I can't get out. Lots of jokes about that. So anyway. So the first editor was the visual editor was around that. That's where it came from, and it since is on everything, and that's why you need to learn it. There's a scene from that show about Google interns where they're comparing VI, Nano, and Emacs. So where did Emacs come from, by the way? So VI came out. And then fast forward, and then Emacs came out. Richard Stallman made Emacs because he was doing a lot of software development, and he wanted something more robust, but it went against Unix philosophy, and so he built this big bloated thing, and that's Emacs. So some people swear by it, but it's not the default editor. It never was. And so that's Emacs. And then the whole entire Linux community decided VI was too hard for beginners, so they made this thing called Nano, which is the only thing different about it is that it has, you can see what you're doing, right? So you can move around. You can't see where the blank lines are, though. It's still actually kind of fun. This is how I learned, because when you do email on a terminal, you have to spam the arrow keys to look around, but it tells you exactly what the commands are. It also teaches beginners to do really horrible things like Control X. We talked about another video about why that's a bad idea. No, but Nano and Joe, it's relative. Joe is another one. These are other text editors out there, and I have no idea how to get out. I do not know how to get out. I have not used it in a long time. Wait, how do we get out of this? Come on, help me out. How do I get out? I don't know. Someone help me. Is it JOR? Use Joe? Someone tell me how to get out of Joe. People make the joke about not being able to get out of VI all the time. I can't get out of Joe. Help, time to Stack Exchange. Stack Overflow, no. You just Control C, okay. Loose changes to this file. Yes, I don't really care. Yes, shut down the computer. All right, so let's do the same thing in VI, by the way. So if I do VI temp foo, the first thing I want to teach you is how to get out. So to get out of it is colon W Q, and that will exit. There's lots of ways. ZZ Top. You guys know ZZ Top? Sharp Dressed Man. Colon. There's so many. So another way to get out is colon Q exclamation point. I do that all the time. That exits without saving, and you're probably going to do that when you make mistakes. So colon Q exclamation point is another one. ZZ Top. If you know ZZ Top, I used to play the ZZ Top Sharp Dressed Man and She's Got Legs videos because ZZ, Shift ZZ, two capital Z's will get you out and save. Now, I don't use it as much, but there's also ZQ. It's capital Z, capital Q, and that will exit without saving anything. So that will exit without saving. Z plus Q, yeah. Z plus Q is another way to get out. So there's lots of ways to get out, right? I use colon Q, exclamation point, my fingers just know it, for exiting out in ways that I've been teaching WQ to people because that's something, these different ways. No, there's really not. I like Shift ZZ. It's just faster to type Shift ZZ with my pinkies, and that's honestly, Shift ZQ is enough of a distance that, you know, I could probably do that, start doing that, but I don't. So that's the first thing to know about VI, and I kind of jumped ahead on my video here. We're still supposed to be sort of in the history. So let's stop that video and start a new one. So the next video we talked about. I'm going to do YVI, NeoVim and Emacs, and we're gonna. I'm gonna make it very very short video. I know you don't think so, but I am. I'm going to try to stay focused. It's hard. It's really hard for me. Okay, why Vim? And you know what? It's actually easier to read these things when they're not like this. I know it's hard to read this. Why Vim and not NeoVim, Emacs, Nano, VS Code? So the short answer is the colors were nice. We can still do the colors. I mean, I could do a little cat. Yeah, there we go. It does make it so you can read it just a little bit better. I mean, but sometimes it's not. That's harder to read than it was before. So you just don't know what you're gonna get. Can we have the colors back? That's better. Yay. All right. So why Vim and not NeoVim? The short answer is because VI and Vim are the default on the system. The end. The default on a system doesn't matter as much now as it did in the previous years before containers. Now that we have containers, but it still matters. All right. And it's a term. We're talking about terminal editors, so right away that eliminates, you know, all of those that are not terminal editors, and that's it. That's really it. NeoVim was built up on top of Vim to make up for shortcomings they saw in Vim that they thought that was the thing. Vim was made to make shortcomings up in VI. VI was the standard. VI was the visual mode that was added to make for shortcomings in Ed, the original editor, X and Ed. And then Emacs was made by Richard Stallman. It has nothing to do with VI because he wanted something monolithic instead of the Unix philosophy. He didn't follow Unix philosophy at all. He just threw it out and decided to do that. Nano was created for you know, supposedly easier for people, even though it's not. And of course, VS Code is a graphic editor, so that's why we're not using that. It's really important for you to learn VI from the command line so that you can integrate all of the amazing things that you've learned from the terminal that cannot be done from VS Code. VS Code is amazing, and I like it for many things, but it cannot integrate the terminal inside of its development. You'd have to cut and paste and do stuff like that. So that's the reason using a graphic editor kind of defeats the greatest advantage of using VI, which very few people understand. So we're going to talk about that. So that's it. I know people don't like that answer, but that's it. All right, in that video. So restoring the escape key to its original. Okay, so let's talk about all right, so let's talk another one. So let's talk about restoring the escape key to its original keyboard home. So as we talk about Vim, we're going to be talking VI and Vim. We're going to be really depending on the escape key. And the escape key, first of all, find the escape key. The escape key is the top left key on your keyboard probably the farthest away from your finger, and you have to type it all the time in VI and Vim, and this is a huge problem for beginners. So we're talking about this before we even get into the Vim tutor and you start building muscle memory and all that. There is raging debate about the best thing to do for escape, and I'm going to tell you one of the ways that I think that you can get around this. Two really important ways. So the first one is restoring the escape key to its original keyboard home. So we don't have to go through the history, but if you go back and look at the original teletype machines, when the terminals started to have digital interfaces on them before typewriters were invented, but right around the same time, the escape key was in the exact same place as caps lock. Everything on a computer terminal was already uppercase. There was no lowercase or uppercase for a while. And so, it just was, I don't know if all the terminals were like that. Probably some were not. But even if it wasn't right there, it was like very close to it. So when you hit the caps lock with your pinky, it's not that bad. Well, I don't know the whole story, but it goes something like the typewriter community got a hold of it. They needed to use caps lock a lot. They wanted to write checks and stuff. And so they booted the escape key off the keyboard all the way up to the high, because it doesn't have anything to do with the typewriter. So because of that, all the keyboards started to standardize, and escape ended up landing on the top left, and it was impossible to type. And then, fast forward 2019, Apple drops the escape key completely from the computer keyboard. It's now some optional little thing you can push in their little touch interface. And they got really bad flack for that. They added it back. So there is a way for you to map the key to your keyboard. Now this is gonna confuse you at first, but if you're first of all, in order to do the mapping, you have to have Linux running. So I don't want to tell you how to do this right now unless you have Linux installed. But the way that you're going to do it, and I'll send this to you right now, if you have Linux. If you don't have Linux, don't sweat it. We're going to talk about another way around this. So this is in my Bash RC, which we haven't talked about customization, but we'll get there. So the this line right here, and I'll send it to you guys, is the line that you need. Now that says, and it says, if I have a display, and you don't, if you're using containers, so don't stress, set the X keyboard map to the escape key. Okay, and from that point on, every time you push escape, it'll generate my computer, and I push caps lock, it generates an escape. So that's the topic of this video. But I'm going to make another video and tell you another way to get around this. All right. I think I covered this already. We talked about this, right? I cannot talk about this more. Yeah, me too. I never use it. So I'm going to do this one now. For HUD compliant programmable keyboards, the key can be rebound to the hardware level. No, I don't prefer any of those. Unless you're carrying your keyboard with you everywhere, I don't prefer any of those. So I'm going to talk about this in the video, actually. Okay, we'll talk about that later. All right, so the second way to set up and survive, and I've been using this for 20-something years, is Control-C. I remember we talked about this when we talked about how to suspend and unsuspend your terminal. We were talking about all the keyboard stuff, and now that we're talking about VI, it's coming up again. So Control C is the exact equivalent of typing the escape key. Now, if you have a system that is like showing you your screens, you will see, what I've got here. I mean, it'll show you that it's typing a different key or so, right? But as far as everything is concerned, it's still an escape sequence. Now, there's a bunch of people who have systems that won't work on. If you have an International Computer Keyboard or something, that won't work. But the reason I want to show you that idea is because modifying your keyboard by, either through software, some people have mentioned in the chat to do it through hardware, it is not going to work all the time. These days, you can take your keyboard with you, usually to most things, right? So if you have to be productive, you're almost never separated from your keyboard. People are not jumping on computers and sharing computers with each other these days. Thank God. In fact, people's personal preferences with keyboards have become so prevalent that they, get really crazy with them, and they know that they're always going to have their keyboard, either because they can, if they have a laptop and they needed a keyboard, they can rebind it or something. But based on all of that, I can tell you that the most reliable way to be able to sit down at any computer on planet Earth and use VI reliably and quickly is to just train your fingers up, your pinkies, and use Control C. And this is what you'll see me use all the time. It's actually so tiring for my pinkies. It's not as tiring as it would be if I had to go up to escape every time, but my two pinkies on Control C's are pretty worn down by the end of the day. And so you see me start to maybe hit caps lock, and I do have caps lock rebound. But never ever Control Z. And there are some people who very irresponsibly have recommended using Control Z and mapping that to escape in your editor somehow instead. Don't do it. Just do not do it. I mean, if you're going to do anything, use Control and then just push down or up. So if you do Control J or Control L, which we haven't got to yet, that will automatically be the same as an escape if you really don't have the other options. And that's another option that I'll stuff into this video to go with it. But Control C is really the way to go for most people, not Control Z. Anything else? So, all right, let's get ready and do the Vim tutorial. I think we already talked about the differences between VI and Vim. I wish we could do a separate thing on that. Okay, I've talked about that a lot. Do you do the Vim tutorial? Start the default 0 configures. Okay. So let's do this. Let's do a Vim tutorial. Let's do the Vim tutorial together. All right, so we're going to do the Vim tutorial together really quickly right here. I'm going to speed through a Vim tutorial in less than 20 minutes. It usually takes most people about an hour, sometimes 2. I think the fastest I've had a beginner do it was 30 minutes. But it's not about going through it quickly. It's about going through it and understanding it. And it's just the beginning. Okay, so the Vim, so what are we talking about? Vim Tutor. So again, get to your system. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a new one. Let's do Ubuntu like you have. I'm going to have to install VI again. Oh well. So apps, I like to practice, right? So let's install VI again. If you don't have this, by the way, you might not have Vim Tutor if you have a Vim Tiny or something installed on your system. If you're just watching this and you're not using the container method, so update-y, and then apt install Vim. So while this is going, I'm going to tell you what we're going to be doing. So this installs Vim, which is an improved version of VI, apparently, which does have a lot of extra things that you may or may not want to become dependent on over time. Okay, so if you wanted to read about VI, you can read man VI, and it'll tell you, oh wait, we have to minimize the system. We're not going to do it. So we're just going to jump right in. So and we're doing all this stuff as root for now. We haven't talked about user permissions. Do not worry because you're in a container. So how do you start Vim Tutor? Just type Vim Tutor with nothing in between. Vim Tutor. Welcome to the Vim Tutor. Vim Tutor is a very powerful tool. As I mentioned before, this was written by a bunch of college kids in Colorado who really didn't know VI at all. They did a pretty good job, but they left off a bunch of really major things. And Bram, who was in charge of Vim, has regularly denied requests to improve this. He does not let anybody get anything new here. So that's what's up. So it says it takes 20 to 30 minutes. I don't know. We'll see. What's the following for GitHub today? Just read the about section. So we're day 10. We're at day 10 on GitHub for this Vim Tutor. You should have a container, and then you just open the container and you type Vim Tutor, like we just did. Okay, so we have the commands in this lesson will modify the text to make a copy of this file to practice on. If you started Vim Tutor, this is already a copy. It's important to remember that this tutor is set up to teach you by all means. This means that you need to execute commands and learn them. So the reason I like Vim Tutor versus all of the other things, particularly avoid Vim Adventures. Vim Adventures is designed to be a game to teach you Vim, but it's cognitively, it messes you up because you don't associate what you're doing with editing text. You associate with playing a game, and that messes you up. There are a number of other online things to do first that you can try in other places. So before we do Vim Tutor, I just want to mention one other online resource that you can do. I'm just going to have to open it here. It's called Open. What's it called? Open Vim.com, I think it is. Yep, there it is. So this is called OpenVim. This is probably my favorite to teach people. It teaches you the keyboard size. It has kind of a more of a visual way to go through it. It's entirely web enabled. So I'm just going to show it to you. Again, the purpose of the boost is to show you what you can do and learn how, not necessarily to do it for you. So go do that if you want to before Vim Tutor. This is something you can get done really quickly before you do Vim Tutor if you want to. But we're going to keep going on with the Vim Tutor. So what else we got? So we're scrolling down. It says, all right, so let's pretend like we can't move at all. All right. I'm going to need most of my screen for this. Apologize for that. But we'll go to Vim Tutor. Commands. Yeah, it's probably important that you do this on a big enough screen where you can see everything. Let's zoom in. Okay, because if you don't, I mean, you might use the arrow keys, right? I mean, you can probably, I'm going to pretend like I'm a beginner here. It's going to be hard. So let's pretend you put the up and down arrow keys, right? And so we're going down. The commands in the lessons will modify the text, make a copy. We're doing this. It's important that you remember the tutorial. Now make sure your caps lock key is not pressed, and press the J key enough times to move the cursor to the lesson 1.1 and it fills the screen. Okay, so let's go here. Move the cursor. H goes left, L goes right. But why didn't L go right here, guys? Because there's nothing on that line. That's an empty line. So if it's an empty line, that's why I can't move. Go down using the down. I'm gonna speed through this really fast. You guys go slower. Using the down key, move to lesson 1.2. Okay. Exiting Vim. Before any of the steps below, read the entire lesson. You really need to too, because they tell you a bunch of stuff and then they don't. Oh, there's our dog. Press the escape key. Now, if you need to do the first version of this with the escape key, fine. You can always go to it. But every time it says escape key, just humor me. Try control left bracket. 2 pinkies, control left bracket. If you don't know how to touch type, you shouldn't be doing this. You should go practice your touch typing before you ever do this. And learn to touch type, people. Okay, so come back here, type : Q, enter. So read the whole thing. It says, don't do it because it's going to exit. So read the whole thing. So say, do this, then this exits the editor, discarding any changes. Get back where we executed the command that got you into the tutor. It might be vim tutor enter. So it's telling you what to do. If you had these steps memorized and are confident, execute these steps 1, 2, 3 to exit and re-enter the editor. This is why I think a trainer would be better, but whatever. Note, colon Q exclamation point discards the changes you've made. In a few lessons, you will learn how to save the changes to a file. B is coding from home row without looking. Now, if you have to look a little bit, that's fine. But first, make sure you know how to code from home row. That's more important. All right. So say if we've got all this done, we can go ahead and do it. So how do we do it? So let's do colon Q exclamation point enter. All right. That got out. Now we have to memorize how to get back into it. Well, I don't remember how to get back into it. So just type vim tutor again. And it should go back. Right. And I'm scrolling back down using what I just learned in step 1. So wait. No, we passed it. Vim tutor enter. So we came back in. All right, here we are. Now, if you've done this, move the cursor down to lesson 1.3. Text editing and deletion. Yeah. Text editing and deletion. Press X to delete the character under the cursor. Move the X. Move the cursor to the line below marked this. Okay, cow jumped. Fix the errors. Move the cursor until it's the top of the character to be deleted. Okay, let's go to the CX. Jump to X. VX. X. XX. Oh, I screwed up. If you screw up, that's fine. Nobody cares. Now, that's fine. Now that the line is correct, go to lesson 1.4. Huzzah. It doesn't do any checking or anything. You're just editing a file, which I like. Press I to insert text. Move to the place you want to go and insert text. To make the first line look like the second, move the cursor on top of the character before which the text is to be inserted. So this is where it's kind of nice to have an I-beam cursor instead of this, but oh well. So it says, we're going to make this line look like this line. So we're going to say, okay, so we're going to go right there on top of the T, and then we're going to press I, and then I'm going to do sum, and it's still in insert mode. They don't talk about this, but you need to look at this. I wish they would mention this right here. See this? This is insert mode. Pay attention down here. That means that you're in insert mode. There's insert mode and there's command mode. And you're in one of those two modes all the time. And when you are the better you get, the more time you'll spend in command mode and less time you'll spend in insert mode. But when you're first starting out, hell, you could do the whole entire tutorial just using arrow keys and insert mode. And this is I wrote about this on rdbx.gg/vi survive if you want to go read that. There's only like 5 or 6 keys you need to memorize, and it's easier to use the nano as long as you allow yourself to use the arrow keys. Now, you should probably try not to do that, but it's not that hard to learn. This is the reason that insert mode sees the arrow keys and works in insert mode. But if you try to use the navigation keys, it doesn't work, right? Why? Because you have to be out of the mode, and then to do that, you have to press escape. But instead of pressing escape, again, let me do that again. We're going to press control left bracket. So text is miss I-N, and then I'm going to do control left bracket, missing. It's going to feel very awkward at first, guys. I mean, it really felt awkward for me for days, and I just promised myself I would keep trying it and trying it. I remember the day I was in Oregon, I was looking out the window at the rainy streets, and I said, today is the last day I'm going to use Nano or Joe for my editor. I'm going to force myself to use VI every day after this. And eventually I got it. And, I learned to do some of these extra things. I promised myself I wouldn't cheat too, though. So from, and then boom, escape, this, insert, line, escape, control up bracket. Okay. Let's go back down here. Text editing, appending. Move the cursor to the first thing. We're going to do Control A, or capital A. Capital A adds to the end of the thing, the end of the line, actually. So we're going to go here. We're going to do Control A, this line. Whoops. This line dot escape. That's my escape. Missing here dot escape. Okay, next one. You're comfortable learning. Keep going. Any questions? Yeah. Before executing any of the steps below, read the entire lesson. exit this tutor as you did lesson 1.2 colon and then what? Use WQ to save and exit, or you can put here, or use colons shift ZZ, either one. All right, that's why I feel like it's too bad they didn't put that in there. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do escape. I think they should have put escape in the front too. When I tell people how to exit, I always tell them escape shift ZZ, which means control left bracket shift ZZ, and then it will go back in. It says, but don't do it yet. It says, I love that it tells you this is how you do it, but don't do it. And then you do vim space tutor to keep going. So, and then we're going to do it again. All right, so we did it. Now we're going to do ls vim space tutor, and it started a brand new file. And then what? I lost my vim tutor. Oh well. I'm going to cheat. I am. There we go. Editing a file. Okay, so let's see. The name of the file you wish to edit. Use a file that may be changed. Oh, right. Insert and delete text as you add the shell prompt. Type the command vim space tutor space enter. Vim is a command to start from the editor, so you can write to it. Insert and delete it and make your changes. If you quit vim tutor in step 1, restart the vim tutor and move down now. After reading the above steps, understand them and do it. So we just did that. All right, I'm gonna do it again. So vim, I don't do vim, I do vi because it's easier to type. And then I do tutor. You can say blah, 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 and then escape, and then colon q exclamation point. Whoops, no, colon q w or colon wq, either one, and we exit out, and then we can restart vim tutor. It's kind of clunky, right? The vim tutor is kind of clunky, I won't lie. It's got problems. I think it should be improved. I think it could be improved in lots of ways. That's a project. If you want to make a project, go do that. First finger on the J key. Yeah. F and J have a little raised tile to tell you where you should be. Lesson 1 summary. Okay, we moved around. We did enter the file name. We exited without saving. We exited with saving. We did all this other stuff. And this is where everybody asked me, well, is there some sort of like, cheat sheet for this? And there actually is. So let's search for vim. I wrote many of them, but I'm gonna see if I can find this one. Vim sheet is actually a really good one. I made my own though. So here we go. This is Vim cheat sheet. So vimsheet.com is a good one. If you use DuckDuckGo, there is another one in here. You can search for Vim, and it will. Where is it? No, it's not it. Where is it? DuckDuckGo has a built-in tutorial on it, and I can't find it right now. It has one built in. No, I just said don't use Vim Adventures. Whatever you do, don't use Vim Adventures. It'll mess you up. So this is it. So if you do Vim space cheat space sheet, it's a fun game, but it's useless because you're not learning it in the context of what you're doing. So there's a WQ, X, all this. It says more at Vim cheat sheet. So this is actually built in. This is the one. So let me send you this one. This one's actually really good. They're all slightly different. And I have a Zettelkasten that has some other stuff in them. So I have my own Vim cheat stuff. So as you get more advanced, you'll start to combine these together. You hear Primeagian talking about DAP all the time. When you start to get these combinations, they allow you to do bulk sorts of things all at once, and you'll start to build your own cheat sheet. In fact, just take a piece of paper and write down your cheat sheet. You know what? The act of writing it down and carrying that little cheat sheet with you will help it sink into your brain better than anything else. Better than going to a cheat sheet every day. Writing it down on a piece of paper and looking at that piece of paper that you have in front of you that you wrote with your own handwriting, that is more for memorization skills than anything else. So you might want to make your own cheat sheet of your favorite things. So that's been a lot of stuff there. Let's see how much of this I can finish. But there's a number of cheat sheets. You'll find your own. Let's finish. Deletion commands. DW, delete a word. Okay. So D is actually the character for deletion, and W says go to the end of the word. So by combining these two things, you can do that. So it says go up here, steps 3 and 4 until the sentence is right. There are delete DW, some words. There are some words, fun, DW, all right, that don't belong, DW, in this sentence. I use DW constantly. Notice how we didn't have to do any escapes there because we never left command mode, all right? Did you really? Nice. And so let's do some more deletion. D dollar. So D dollar, which I don't know why they didn't put this here. D dollar is stupid. Use D. D is better. Okay, so they cover C but not D. I don't know why. So it says go to end of the line twice, right? So capital D, boom, gone. Okay. If you want to, by the way, to undo is Control U. They don't even cover undo in here. I don't understand that one at all. All right, so undo is Escape U, and we'll keep undoing it as you go. Escape U, you're gonna be doing a lot. I'm gonna give you one right away. Dot repeats the last command, whatever it was. You're gonna use that a lot. So deletion. If you do want to do it this way though, so I can www. Okay, now I can do watch. D dollar goes to the end. If I wanted to delete to the beginning of the line, it would be D0. 0 is the beginning of the line. All right. So, and then anything is capital, does that, whatever it is, to the end of the line as a shortcut. So capital D, capital C, it changes it instead of just deleting it. So it puts you into insert mode. All right, so keep going down. Operations and motions. D is the delete operator, and they're going to tell you about what I just told you until the next of the word. And this is where DAP comes in. So A means around, and P means the current paragraph. And this is a Vimism only. It's not a VI. I wish I could just teach you VI first, but the Vim tutor teaches you Vim. But so let me just show you how powerful DAP is. DAP deletes that whole paragraph. And if I go right here and hit P, it puts it all the whole entire thing back. So that's DAP, but that's a more advanced command. These other ones, though, it's important that you know that you can combine any action with any navigation. So if I want to delete set new, so if I want to delete from here to here, that's line 248, I can say delete and then 248 capital G to go there, and it will delete everything up until that point. So I think that covers that section. And we go using account for emotion. So let's say you want to delete, this is you do this all the time. I want to delete this one, 2DW. I want to delete 2 words or 3 to the end of 3 words, or I want to just move to the start of the line. To move to the start of the line is 0. If I want to move to the end of the line is exclamation point. This is going to become really important as you start to use VI for history entries, because you can edit your command history using these commands. So this is the word here. You can move around. So we need to delete some lines here. So let's do 2DD. All right, so that deletes all of that. So 2DD. Let's delete a line. Let's just align with the words that you can move around in it. All right, so let's delete 3 words. 3DW. There. All right, let's delete just one word, DW. All right, undo. Undo is again, Control U. I'm going to keep going down. I've only got 4 minutes. Using a count to delete more. So motion, D, I just did 2DW. You can do 2DW or you can do D2W. Either one is fine. So this is a line. So let's do D2W. Now what? Now we're going to do D3W. Stickers for your keyboard. Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, stickers for a keyboard are fun. Escape that you can use to bind escape to the modifier key when it's pressed by itself. To modification is pressed by so. Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. If I would do that, I would probably not do that. Okay. So let's go here. So DW. Here we have 3 to do. You can do 3 DW. It doesn't matter where the number order is. So we got that. Operating on lines. So DD, it does an entire line. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. With the cursor to the second line in the phrase, mud is fun. DD, and that's gone, right? Type DD, you can do undo to undo that. TD, and then move to the fourth line. We want to delete 2. So 2 DD, I do that a lot. How's it going, time traveler? So here we go. Undo command. Control U. I guess they do cover it. I don't remember them covering it. So that's just how long it's been since I've done this. Now, Control R is redo. And redo is weird. I gotta tell you, I almost never use it. Redo. So if you undo a thing, then you can redo it, right? So whatever. I mean, you can spend time playing with it. I almost never use it though. Exit, delete the unwanted character, and then move on. No dot. I don't think dot is redo. I don't know. I don't think it is though. Dot is repeat. So no, dot is not redo. No. Dot is repeat the last edit command, not the last command. So redo is different. I think that's probably one of the reasons I don't like it. So dot, we haven't got to dot yet. Dot just repeats the last editing command. Yeah. So because I just tried to undo it and I didn't. So delete the cursor, DW, blah blah blah. Delete the whole line. I mean, it's just, we don't need to go through this anymore. You guys know about this. And then undo. I just mentioned it. Put command. P. Now I put P or P or is put or print. I use this all the time. So this pastes whatever you last deleted. All right. So you can go here. So if I can delete DD, go up to the top, P, right? And by the way, this works across files. So, temp, let's see, whatever, temp, other. So this remembers itself across files for Vim, but you have to be careful and set your Vim info right. But it does do that. So I just wanted to show you that. So that's P. They said, was it print? What did they say? P. I don't know which section was that. Okay, by the way, navigation. Let's do navigation. So Control N. This is not set up to do it, so it's not doing it very well. I actually, for navigation, I always do searching. I don't know if you saw that, but I completely depend on searching and not necessarily not navigating the whole file itself. So I would want to find, so like I know it was a lesson, so search for lesson. Search is slash, which they don't cover, I don't think. So then I just search for the next one. N, much easier, right? N, more deletions, operations, using count for motion, using count for delete, operating on lines. We've done all that. I'm going to let you do the rest because I think you get it. So lesson 2 is done. The put command, put is put. It's yank and put. Y is yank. And there's not a copy. It's Y. So we did the put command. What else we got? The replace command. So RX. R replaces what's under the cursor. So you can replace that with a capital R, or you can do that with just a tilde. A tilde will change it into capital R. You're going to be looking at this stuff for a long time. Now, I just pushed N again to go find less. I think it's more important that you learn how to search. And I'm going to tell you about this. So C is this change operator. That's the same thing as delete, except for just changes it. That means instead of deleting it, it puts you into edit mode so you can edit it. And then we have our summary, cursor location, and file status. So these are really important. This is probably the most important thing here is how to get around because you're going to use this for other things. Okay, so if you wanted to get around, the first thing is Control G shows you where you're at. Now, most of the time you don't need this. Okay, most of the time you don't need Control G because you're going to have this almost immediately. you're going to have line numbers done, or you're going to have a ruler on down here. It's going to tell you your line number. So you don't, as soon as those things are on, you don't need to do that. So this is not as important, but it is really important to know capital G though. So capital G goes to the end of the program, and 2 lowercase g's goes to the top. Capital G, lowercase g's. Capital G, lowercase g's. Okay, but if you put a number in front of capital G, it will go to that line, and that works in VI. So you can say, I want to go to line 200 G, and it takes you to it. That works in VI. Let's say I want to delete everything until line 10. Delete 10 G, capital G. That deletes all the code between that, and I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to put it all back. That's super important. You're going to use that a lot. So let me go back and search some more lessons. I can just keep putting N and go there really quickly. Since we're over, we did the undo, we did put in replace, cursor location, file status, dot. Okay, hold the control key and press G dot. We call this control G. A message will appear at the bottom of the page. Yeah, we already did that. This happens to set the ruler. Yes. GG, we just did that. We did all that. Search command. Searching is super important. Slash is search on everything. Everything. It's everything. You know, the history and everything. You're going to use search in your history. So like if I want to search through my history for anything that had Docker in it, I do escape. I forgot to do escape. And then I type slash Docker. And there's no Docker in there, apparently. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, there's one. So this like, see this, and you do N and it keeps going to the next one. So it's basically finding all the stuff in my history the same way I would, let's just find all the lines that have Ubuntu. Same exact edit commands or search commands that I would do in VI. This is why you do want to set dash on VI. So now we have slashes. So slash finds a thing, right? And then N finds the next one. Capital N finds the last one. Not hard, right? So we're going to you're going to use those all of the time. Mantic parentheses search command. So that's the search command. We're going to go past that one. Let's see. You go back to where you came from with Control O. I've never used that. To search for a phrase in the backward direction, you can use question mark. Never use that. Just use capital N every time. I mean, why would you? Why would you use question mark? You can, but why? You just, I mean, you go lesson, right? Find the next one, then do capital N and find the previous one. So there's no reason to waste time learning question mark one. And what? So let's keep going. Matching parentheses. This originally seems like a cool thing, and then you realize it doesn't really matter. What this will do is, like, if you get a really complicated thing here, if you're hovering over the thing and you push percentage, it'll toggle back and forth between the last ones. Sometimes that's nice, but usually not. Usually you're writing code that doesn't require that. Substitute command. Okay, now this is where I kind of have problems with this tutorial. All of a sudden, they throw you on the command line. They didn't tell you anything about how to get on the vim command line. So colon puts you into the X command line. At this point, you're not in VI anymore. As soon as you type a colon, you're in the X editor. And so all the commands you're sending are X commands that modify the file one line at a time and do different things related to that. It's also where you set options and stuff. So like if you want to turn numbers on, you set NU and it'll turn numbers on. If you set no NU, it'll turn the numbers off. If you set the options, you want to put the ruler on, you turn the ruler on. It's also where you set syntax and color and all that stuff. And all those commands that you're executing can put in a file later and help you customize the thing to your content. I mean, it's like, what do you want it to do? There's another thing that some people set, rel, if you keep hitting tab on this, relative number. So some people like this. This is the relative number. You've probably seen this. And these are things that are not necessarily supported in VI. They might be supported in Vim. And this substitution thing that they're teaching right here is you see people do this in Discord all the time and places like that. This actually comes from sed originally, but it's everywhere. And it means substitute whatever's between these colons with something else. And it doesn't have to be a slash as long as it's the same. So let me give you a sense of that. There's some amazing advanced things there we're not going to do. But let's say on this line, I want to change the word I want to change all the lowercase f's with a capital F. So I do a navigation, I do colon, and I do dot for the current line, and okay, and then I'm going to replace the lowercase f's with the uppercase F, and all of them. G, that means lots of them. And then I do that, and it makes it all. See what it did? It did it. And you can do that again. In fact, if you do up, you can push the up arrow, and you can go get your command back if you want. Another thing too to note here that when you do substitutions, and this kind of needs its own day, is you can put anything there. So if you're trying to replace like all the slashes here, so let's say you're going to replace, I want to replace backslashes, which is hard to match, right? So we could actually replace the slashes with a backslash, and do all of that, and that would replace those. But that's a pretty advanced topic for the beginner, for the beginner boost and for the Vim tutorial. It's one of my major critiques of the tutorial. It just doesn't have any, it doesn't follow in any way. So we talked about G, the lesson summary, substitution thing, how to execute an external command. This is by far the most important thing about VI, and it's given very, very little attention in a way that matters. So for this thing, I'm going to refer you to my tutorial. It's called VI Magic, rdbx.gg/VI Magic, and this will take you through how to integrate shell commands into your VI. So you can actually run shell commands inside of VI. It tells you the commands to press. So in this case, it's there's it'll tell you how to sort and stuff. So this is really important that you master this. So for example, if you want to master, like by doing bang bang, which they don't even talk about, it's really sad. By doing 2 exclamation points, which are some of the fastest stuff you can type, by doing bang bang, it just automatically says put the following line and send it to shell, whatever the shell is. And I can type cal, and that will replace the current line with the calendar. Oops, I don't have a calendar apparently. We can replace it with what else is there? ls. How about that? All the files in my current directory. How about that? There you go. Right. So here's another thing. You can say I want Rob, Billy, another person, and I can take this entire segment. I can do exclamation point, say get ready, and then I can say to the next blank line, bracket, and I can say now down here it says what it's sending. It says send the current position, comma, to the current position plus 3 lines to the shell. Well, what am I going to send it to? Sort. Boom. It sorts that thing right in place. Undo. Redo. Undo. You know what I'm saying? So that's like one of those things where you might want to, you might want to do that kind of thing. So this is the thing this is the area where you're going to become a virtuoso in VI. When you focus on integrating the commands from outside and actually writing code that writes code. I mean, I don't know how many times I've done this. I can write a table. I can write a pandoc table, like day, hour, I mean, I did this already once before, but I could say Monday at 12 at 20 hours. I can say Tuesday at 1 p.m. I don't know, 2400. I don't know, whatever. So I can do this, and I can take this entire section. All right, watch the command. I can say send this section, exclamation point, I call it the magic one, and then send that to what? Send it to a program called Pandoc, and that will translate that entire line into a table if I had Pandoc installed, which I don't. I forgot I don't have it. By the way, what if you want to get a shell while it's still running? :shell. And now I've got a shell, and when I exit the shell, it will go back into VI. So if you don't want to lose your time, you can do that. You can do :shell, And now I can say I want to do a shell. I'm going to say, so actually I'm going to do apt install pandoc, which I'm going to just really quickly run on here because I tried to use pandoc and don't have it. I can install it from the command line and exit, and it goes back into VI. Now let's try it. Let's do that pandoc, and now watch. Boom. Now I get an HTML table. Undo. So boom, boom, pandoc. So that integration is what makes you never need a plugin, because you can write commands or install files and programs that'll do whatever you need. More on writing files. So this is kind of what was going on. This is them trying to tell you the same thing in a much lamer way, but I don't know why you would ever do that. There's some of that stuff there. Just forget it's there. Select text, a text file to write. Now they haven't talked about okay. By the way, skip visual mode. Do not use visual mode. You don't need it. You don't need visual mode. People think, oh, how am I going to comment everything out? You need to learn how to do comments properly, to write a shell script to do the same thing. You don't want to be using visual mode for anything because it doesn't work with VI. So skip the section on visual mode, I promise you. If you want to send stuff to a file, though, let's say if you can actually send just a section of code, like this line, I want to send just that line to a file. All right, so I actually use bang bang for this. I use bang bang, and then I get rid of the bang because I don't need it. And I say, okay, I want to write the current line to a file called temp bar or something. And now if I go out and temp bar now has that line in it. Now you're going to be doing that a lot. Okay, so let's say in tutor, let's say another thing. Write to file. Well, I gotta look for the lesson again. When was it? Was it 4? Which lesson was it? Matching parentheses. More on writing files. All right, so there we go. Selecting write to file. So V to move the cursor to the 5th line below. Notice the text line. Don't do it. Don't do that. Just if you're gonna write, you can do the same positioning things and write those things to a file. You can also bring them back. So this is how you bring them back. To bring them back is :R. You're going to use that all the time. :R temp foo, and it will. Whoops! What did I name it? Did I name it foo? Actually, it will help you out. See that? You see, it has my tutorial in there too. By the way, so bar. Let's go get bar. There's bar. So you can go use that as for buffering. Using that writing to a file and bringing back from a file works in VI. Not just Vim. Okay, so that's super important because when you're stuck with just VI, when you don't have your precious Vim buffers, you can still use that method for writing to a file in a temp and then and writing it back, all the time. And I do it constantly, and it's completely immune from any Vim info problems with truncation. So that is what you want to learn first, and then if you want to learn visual mode or something like that, fine after that. But you're gonna need to go. VI survive link. Thank you for that. Thing of him. Yeah. All right. So retrieving and merging files. We talked about that. Summary of a command. We talked about all the different commands you can do. The open command. Okay. Open. I don't know why this isn't covered like way earlier on. Open just opens a line right after the current line. All right, so here you go. Like, oh, I need to open something after this line. Oh, and you use open all the time. It's really common to want to open and write something on the line right after it. So that's all O does. I don't know why it's all the way down in 6.1. It should be way earlier than that, but oh well. Append. Append A writes right after the cursor. So insert writes right here, but A writes after that position. And we actually had a problem with this because if you have a file that has nothing in it, right? If you push I, you can write to it, right? But if you have like one thing, what do? I've had people have like one character in their file and they're like totally stuck. they can't figure out what to do. So you push A and it writes right after that. And you could do capital A, which adds to the end of the adds to the end of the file if you wanted to. If you push I, then it adds to the beginning of it. And like, how do I get it so that it writes to the end of the file after the letter A? A for after, or pen, or whatever you want. Okay. So what was that? That was lesson 6. So mtm slash, oh, I guess it's not there anymore. Vim tuta, lesson 6. There we go. The open command. See, it's faster to run. When you watch me code, like when I'm just doing my own stuff, you're going to see me flying through the files a lot, and that's what I'm doing. I'm doing searches every time. So I don't learn any of this stuff for marking. People learn marks, and I've never learned that because I know that I can just search for what I'm looking for, and it's way faster, always faster, and it works everywhere. It works in VI, and I don't have to learn extra stuff. In my case, I want to remove as many things, even if I can learn them. I want to remove as many things to remember as possible, so that I can go to the right thing. E will move the cursor in the end line. So actually lately I've been trying to become better. Personally, I've been trying to use W and E and B better. So the W is ring finger and B is my other finger. This is something I've never done before. I'm not really good at it. But this is how you go between words. So it goes between the beginnings of words. So sometimes it's faster to go through. You'll see me spam the left arrow key a lot. Because it's just, computers are fast. Back in the old days when the computers took forever to refresh, knowing these commands was more important. So this is something I've been adding back to my vocabulary, W and B, for jumping between words. And you can write, hopefully you're writing some of this down. Another way to replace capital R replaces more than one character. I've never ever used capital R. I think it's because it's a Vimism. In fact, let's check. I'm almost positive it's a Vimism. Yep. If I do, let's try it. So let's try it. Capital R. No, it's not. Well, let's try NVI. NVI sum. Enter. All right. So, all right, let's try capital R and see. Capital R. Yep. Okay, it looks like it's supported. I've just never used it. You're going to find that too. There's so many things, not just with VI, but with Unix. There's so many different ways to do things. I've never used capital R in my life, and I don't intend to. So, because I would rather just do a C and change the whole line. Very rarely do I want to just, copy and paste text. All right, so this is important, and I know we're kind of over, but YY paste. You're going to be doing that all day long. It's all the same things with delete. It's just with Y. So you want to yank two words, two YW, and then P, and it prints it. P. Right? Every time you print it, it prints again. Dot repeats the last thing you did. All right, so you can undo all that. Remember we learned DAP. Well, you can also do YAP, and that will paint the whole thing. So you can just keep going that way. So Y for yank. Set option. So ignore case. I've never done that. I don't know why you would. I guess these are all options that are going to go in your vimrc, which we will cover, but we're not going to cover it right away. So don't mess with that. O, we talked about that. Type O to open a line. Capital O to line above. I probably should learn capital O. I think it's something I would probably benefit from. I just don't ever use it. So you're on this line, you want to open a line above that line. So capital O or lines above it. I should probably practice that. I don't use that one. I use capital A all the time though. That's like over here. E moves to the end of the word, Y, and they don't tell you, but B moves to the beginning of the previous word. And there's capital variations of that have different matching syntax, so you can do that. R replaces, we got the set, getting help. The help system, so H or help will get you help on any single thing. So it'll look up stuff. When this comes up, the hardest part people have is switching back and forth between the panes. Just know that :Q exclamation point will get you out. That's all. So let's try it. Help. W. What is W? Well, okay. Colon, Q, exclamation point. Occasionally, there's like if you're learning to do Vim script, that's like the best way to learn about it. So you probably should learn that. You can edit a file. I've never done this either. I usually exit, and then people always ask me, why did you exit to edit that thing? And I'm like, I don't know. Because it's just so easy to exit and come back now. So I don't bother, doing that. I don't see the value of it. It's probably a good idea though to learn E, because E opens up a file. So if I do :E tilde slash .vimrc, it will open up my RC file, and I can close it and I'm still there. Another thing is you can actually open several files at a time and edit them one at a time and do :N to move between them. There's a bunch of things that are still not covered, but that'll get you started, and then you can kind of go about it. Now, last reminder before I end this video is that you can go to, if you want a little bit more, there's like lots of cheat sheets, and then there's OpenVim, openvim.com. Okay, so here's my 2 online recommendations if you're already out of time. So OpenVim, which you can do at the same time or before VimTutor. And then when you get good with all that stuff, go back and do this one. I've got a commit. I didn't do the commit, but I suggested it and they put it in. VimGenius.com. Now, this is super annoying work doing it inside of a web browser. You can't use control of bracket, for example. There's a few things that you can't do, but if you want to, it teaches you Vim macros and stuff, and it takes you to the next level. One of the things I like about it is that it does just teach you real. It's kind of like a flip, like a flip chart. Move cursor, press the right arrow key. So, and then you hit enter, and then it passes it. I don't know what's going on with mine, probably because I haven't signed in, but you might try it. So there's Vim Genius and there's Interactive Vim. I strongly suggest against Vim Adventures, but you can do it if you want, and then go through the cheat sheets. But most importantly, start writing everything, and you'll do a lot better. That was a whirlwind tour through the Vim Tutor. It's one of those things that takes half an hour or an hour to get started with, and it takes a lifetime to perfect and get good at. Macros is the thing that I most recently discovered that I should have been using years ago. But they're a Vimism and not a VI thing. And I'll see if there's any immediate questions here. They are more or less the same. Yes, 2YW and Y2W are more or less the same. Who else we got? We got muscle memory in the end and finding your style. It really is. When it comes to muscle memory, I do want to really caution you about building muscle memory that does not convey stuff that you can't use on another computer. It's super dangerous to do that because then you're useless on something else. So you have to assess for yourself whether that's going to be a danger or not. So when you start remapping keys, one of the things that people always recommend that I've avoided, I'm going to mention at the end here, is like remapping FF and JJ, which only works in Vim. It doesn't work in VI, to escape. And I think that's one of the strongest disagreements I have, particularly for beginners, because you're not going to have that. You're not going to have it. And you're going to be completely useless, and your fingers will have memorized those keystrokes, and so now you're dead. So if your fingers are going to memorize something, either memorize escape, which is really hard, or memorize control F bracket, or if you really want remap, caps lock. But in that case, you have to be sure you always have caps lock, because your pinkies will be remembering caps lock. Let me give you a sense of this. So I'm a control F bracket guy, and I remap caps lock, and I still don't press it because my fingers have memorized control F bracket to this day. And I can't get over it because I'm so trained to do it. It takes really, really substantial effort to get over it. Do not cheat and use the arrow keys. I mean, as soon as possible, you should get off the arrow keys and start using the middle keys. And as much as you can, stick with, home row and stuff. It's really important for the beginners, and I get really kind of passionate about this, because when you're starting out, you're creating permanent habits that I've seen people struggle with their whole life because they learned it wrong. Or one guy who I saw, he was a YouTuber, I think. He learned Escape, and I have never seen somebody move their left hand so much using VI. He was really fast, but his hand launched across the screen. Some people use their ring finger to hit Escape. I would probably be that guy if I did it, but I'm not. I'm not. These people, they know exactly where Escape is on the screen. The reason I don't like that method is because Escape varies radically in its position on the keyboard. So if you are in a different place, you just never know whether you're going to get the same escape sequence. So I really strongly suggest Control Left Bracket for that. If you live in a country where that's not a thing, come up with your best alternative. But at least stick with it. I think that's probably one of the most compelling reasons that some people use the Emacs is they are an international who doesn't have Control Left Bracket, and they want to do mapping anyway, so they might as well install an entire Emacs editor to do everything that they want to do. And there's some really brilliant people that do use Emacs that I know and know of. So I'm not going to put you down for that, but you should at least learn the minimum VI before you make a decision about what your daily editor is going to be later on. All right. Well, maybe, you can disable the arrow keys. I actually have the arrow keys disabled in my vimrc. If anybody wants that, I can send that to you right now. If you add the following file, if you add these lines to your vimrc file, those should go to you. Okay. If you add these lines to your vimrc file, it will yell at you if you try to use the arrow keys, and it'll turn them off so you can train yourself up. I will not be doing a video on a vimrc relatively soon, and I go ahead and start using all of this stuff. And we do need a topic. We need to finish today because it's 8:30, but I don't know when, but I promise we will go through a vimrc file. I do not want to go through a vimrc file until we go bash rc and until you've learned how to shell script, because inevitably you're going to ask questions about, well, what can I do here? And you can map things that are shell scripts. I mean, let me give you an example of this. So you'll see that I've got, I just recently reworked mine again. So some places, I mean, look at this. Jumping into your own vimrc is a very, very daunting task for a beginner. vimrc, first of all, the language itself was one of the major reasons the NeoVim was made, because it's so crazy. But they see beginners things like this. I can run Perl code inside of the Vim script, right? And that's all nice and everything, but this is all, if else and all this stuff that has no sense, makes no sense to you until you even have like a minimal understanding of what coding is about, if statements and stuff like that. So we're not going to do any vimrc customizations other than put these lines in your vimrc kind of things like I just did, because of that. And then when we come back, we're going to have an entire day or week on customization that's just going to be, okay, here's how you trick out your vimrc, here's how you get your colors to look really cool in your status bar, whether it be for bash or for vim. And after that, we'll also be going into tmux. It's really not useful to learn how to split your screen up and stuff and customize it until you know a little scripting, because, like, for example, this little Pomo that's yelling at me, that's a little script that I wrote, and if you don't know about that, it'll kind of won't make sense. So that's why we're waiting so long to get to those things, because you have to know how to shell script and build everything from that. And shell scripting is super easy. That is actually coming up. I think that's actually one of the things that I talked about doing. We're going to do manage users. We have to have users, so that's going to take a day. And then after that, we're scripting. So 2 more days. So on Friday this week, we'll be writing code. We'll be writing POSIX shell code. You're already doing it, but we'll do more. And then we'll manage users tomorrow, so you don't have to do everything as root. And we'll talk about user permissions, and then we'll be coding on that day. And then this weekend, that means you'll be able to do Vim, and you'll be able to write code with your Vim, so you have some fun things to do. And then we can move on from there. All right. Does that sound good? So the order of this is finally working out for me. In the past, the order has been really hard for me to nail down because there's so many things that are intricately tied together. And actually, the greatest revelation with regard to this for me has been learning to code in shell first. Most people, when they're taught to code, are taught in Python or JavaScript or Java or even C. But it doesn't make any sense to learn another language until you've learned shell scripting because you're doing it all the time. And you can't really live on the command line until you know how to interact with the shell and write your own customizations for the shell. And all the configuration files are shell scripts. So you might as well learn the minimum to code in for shell. And shell is actually not, it does look like chicken scratch when it's overused, but it's really not hard to learn. It's pretty basic. And so we'll learn that, and that'll be your first language. And then you can tell people, if it is your first language, you say, what's the first language you learned? POSIX shell. And they're like, what? Yeah. Batch files before I started learning C. Right. So this is the thing that I think gets undersold to beginners and to people out there. When you use a command line, you are coding. You're already coding. And so accepting that is an interactive, interpreted scripting language is a big part of taking the next steps. And I'm really looking forward to it. This is the first time I've done this. It's the first time that I've taught shell scripting as a first language. And people think I'm absolutely insane. Why on earth would you torment them? It's not properly formatted code. No, people need to think of algorithms and if statements and logic way before they see the benefits of some of these other languages. So I'm really excited to get there. That's all I had for today. So who should we go raid? Should we go raid somebody? I will be, I don't know how much coding I'm going to be doing tonight. I might be hanging around a little bit. Would you guys want to go raid somebody? Seashell when you learn Bash. Yes, that can happen. I've had that happen before too. Yeah, it can be very annoying. And that's a really good point. That is a really good point. Twitch TV. Let's go see who's on the TV tube, the Twitch tube. Oh, Mr. Riffing's on. Oh, Jola is on. Oh, and she's on. Where is X is on. She's awesome too. All awesome people. I haven't rated him before. He's working. That's some cool stuff. He's working on LeetCode interview practice. Ooh, girl with the box. I like rating her. I rate her all the time. Splashy Elegance. I don't know any of these people. I don't know. I don't want to take too much time doing this, but I don't know these people. Is that an advertisement? Looks like it is. Hacking. Oh, cybersecurity's on right now. All right, let's go ahead and hack him. Should we? Can you hear this? Is it too loud? Is it too loud? No, it's not.
And then we're going to choose to use best practices. That seems really smart to me.
I've been banned.
Back to what you were saying before, right? Which is they got lucky, and when they make a tone deaf statement like that, they knew they had got lucky, and they were just like, okay, so we're just going to lax up on our processes because clearly
this is how I got banned. Look at this.
Get hit with ransomware, so cyber's not that important to us. So let's lax the control.
That's apparently why I was banned.
Here's the reality: the hackers left money on the table because if he was willing to spend 4.5 that quickly,
yeah, no, I'm not gonna.
I think that's a
the guy who banned me for disagreeing with his opinions in chat. I won't be banned. I won't be. No, just no. He followed me the other day. It's like people radically disagree with me, and I'm not gonna ban you for that. I said you don't need to pay for this. You can learn it on your own, and he banned me for it. There it is. You saw it. People are weird, man. Oh, whatever. Just whatever. 107 people apparently think this is worth watching. I don't. Kubernetes and stuff like that. No, absolutely don't Nafiz. Do Kind, install Kind. I've had 4 professionals, one of whom is a member of the Cloud Native Foundation, Discovery Board, Governance Board. They all said Kind, and the guy who made Kind is on the board actually. So I'm all about Kind, all about Kind. I hate mini whatever. That's a bad one too. Anyway. I'm going to be doing a lot of that later. You know what? I'm just going to leave my stream on. You guys can wander away and do something else. This takes way too much energy. I'm going to stop doing it. So I am going to stop the stream though, and then so I have a break in the stream. When you come back, I'll have music on. I'll be writing and doing stuff. You guys can chat with each other and do whatever. All right, bye.